Hi, my name's Father Dan Cambra, and I'm a Marian of the Immaculate Conception, the religious community that operates the National Shrine of Divine Mercy here in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And today I'd like to talk to you about two of the early martyrs of the Church, St. Pontian and St. Hippolytus. They're not exactly the kind of people that, shall we say, were always close friends. Actually, they were enemies, downright out-and-out enemies. Pontian was probably Joe Average, if there is such a thing, and he was a well-intended but not particularly gifted pope. And at the same time was Hippolytus, a particularly eloquent speaker, a brilliant man, someone that St. Jerome even referred to as a man of extraordinary intelligence. One of the great gifts that St. Hippolytus gave to the Church is what we now refer to as the Second Eucharistic Prayer, the most commonly prayed canon since the reform of the liturgical books. It is the shorter, the briefer, the more direct, and in many ways the most eloquent of all the canons. St. Hippolytus's canon is almost word to word identical to the one that we use today. And one of the extraordinary things is that many of his homilies were read and reread and used and quoted by other doctors of the Church in the early centuries. But he was not exactly a man gifted with personal humility. His opinion was that he was in fact a gifted speaker and a particularly profound leader, and that he in fact should be Pope and not Pontian. He went on to become our first anti-pope, as a matter of fact, having gathered a circle of followers who then elected him pope while Pontian was still reigning as pope. But Pontian, being a particularly humble man and recognizing that the Emperor Maximus was certainly not the easiest emperor to deal with, was willing to abdicate the papacy in favor of Hippolytus, or indeed anyone else that the bishops would choose to elect. Ultimately, the Emperor Maximus banished Pontian to a mine in Sardinia, where he labored for the rest of his life. And not too long after he arrived into Sardinia in the mines, shortly came along Hippolytus. It was precisely laboring side by side in the mines that the two men came to a personal affection for each other. And while Hippolytus was working side by side with Pontian, he sent word to his followers that he too was abdicating any claim to being the Bishop of Rome. He, as a matter of fact, recommended that someone else be elected. And he suggested that maybe Pontian, precisely because of his personal holiness, might be the better choice. As it turned out, however, they didn't live much beyond that reconciliation period and died in the year 235, probably on or about the same day, and in all likelihood spurred each other on to sanctity. It was precisely this difficult time in the Church that God blessed us with many martyrs, but certainly not the last of the difficult times in the Church. And a good reminder for each of us that while we sometimes don't get along with the guy in the pew next to us, the truth of the matter is we probably should make an effort to be reconciled, to grow in love and mutual affection, because one day we will certainly be spending eternity with them, one place or another. Through the intercession of Saints Pontian and Hippolytus, who share their feast day, may God Almighty bless you and all those whom you love.